and edited offline and, the old-fashioned way.
Now, why did you choose David Lagercrantz as the author? Because he's not an established crime writer, is he? His main success has been the biography of a footballer.
Yeah, well, he has written some other books too. When we sort of found out that we were going to ask him, quite quickly we could see he was a perfect match. He was a journalist from the beginning. He has written about crime, both as a journalist as a writer.
And of course Stieg Larsson was a journalist, wasn't
Yes, he was. David wrote a book about a very famous Swedish inventor, Håkan Lans, and an adventurer, and then Zlatan, the football player, so different characters, and then Alan Turing, of course. So he has this thing for oddballs and complex genius, and that was what in the end made him a perfect match.
Now, it's been reported that Stieg Larsson had planned to write 10 volumes of his Millennium series, and that he'd started writing a 4th volume when he died. Did David Lagercrantz have access to any of those notes or the manuscript?
No, nothing. I have never had my hands on a 4th manuscript. I'm not really sure. I knew from my own conversations with Stieg that he planned to write more books, and well, he had a few ideas about a 4th book, but when I met him, he had just written 2 full manuscripts and was finishing the 3rd one, and since he died quite shortly after that, I can't imagine how he would have the time to write much more, but no one knows actually, or someone knows, I don't.
But you knew Stieg Larsson very well, obviously you were his original editor. What do you think he would have made of somebody else carrying on his work?
Well, I think that's he would be here. We would have gone on publishing his books, and he would have fulfilled his dream being a writer, a crime writer. But it was quite important for us. If it was still an if we should do it, we needed to find the right man or woman to do it.
Because his former partner, Eva Gabrielsson, has been reported as saying that he would have been furious, that she doesn't like the idea of this being a money-making enterprise.
Yeah. If I have lived with Stieg for a long time, I probably would react in the same way. And of course, it's not me as a publisher who has alone decided this. It's together with the estate, that the father and brother. And I think we all took quite good time to decide what to do and if we should do it and how we should do it. But now it's happening.
Take us back to the first time you met Stieg Larsson. What were your initial impressions of him?
Well, he was a very sort of normal man in his best years, a bit overweight and quite humble or silent. He comes up from the north part of Sweden, and we always say that people from the north part, they don't talk much. He was really kind and humble in that way, very happy that we wanted to publish the books. But in the same way, he said, I can do this. He was a crime reader. He had read all the literature, and he knew he could do it better. So he was quite sure of himself.
There have been all these sorts of conspiracy theories over the years that Stieg Larsson didn't actually write these books, that he wasn't up to them. What do you say to those?
There is no doubt that he wrote those books. I know that he did, actually, so that when you work so closely with an author. So I think that's part of the
mythology.
The mythology that has grown, and of course, since it's been so dramatic, everything around Stieg Larsson from the very beginning has been so extraordinary. And completely unknown author who writes his first book being 49 years old, dies before the book is even published, and then the book is just taken over the world. Everyone is talking about Stieg Larsson and Zalander, and that together with a family who's still in shock and never really came to a good solution, it puts a big pressure on everyone.
And so the first time you started reading The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, did you have any idea? Could you ever have imagined that they were going to be so successful?
If a publisher knew from the first beginning, our jobs would be so easy and we would all be very wealthy. So you don't know, but of course you have this notion, this is something really good. It was a page turner, a real page turner. And then, of course, the main thing, it was Lisbeth Salander. Fantastic character.
Yes, and this socially awkward young woman who dresses like a goth. She's a Julia's computer hacker. She was an entirely new character in crime fiction, wasn't she?
Yes, I had never seen her in fiction. No, we had never seen it before.
What I think is so fascinating is that since the Millennium Trilogy was published, we've seen that sort of female character pop up in a lot of TV series, such as The Killings, Sophie Gravel's character, on the Asperger's spectrum.
And The Bridge, if you've seen that. And a lot of, so you see a lot of copycats, and that's one part that I think is really fantastic now, that we can sort of let David write a book on the original character.
So the fourth volume is coming out at the end of next month. If it's a success, will you fulfill Stieg Larsson's ultimate dream of doing 10?
I'm not sure what we are going to do after the fourth book, so no. This continuation is a new part of this story, and it's still very thrilling. But of course I'm nervous. I'm so eager to the day to come now, so we can let this book out to the audience, to the readers, and see what they say.
David Geddon, he'll be appearing this weekend at the Hannibal Crime Festival, and The Girl with the Spider's Web in the Spider's Web will be released on August 27th, along with reissues of the original trilogy. School children and poets took over part of the National Theatre this afternoon for a day of workshops and poetry performances, culminating in the Clipper 2015 Children's Poetry Award, chaired by Roger Goff. It's the only UK prize for children's poetry, and this year's winning collection is Werewolf Club Rules by Joseph Coelho. He popped into front row after getting his prize and read me one of his poems.
Siblings. Like the three musketeers, we were all for one. Like the three blind mice, we saw without looking. Like the three bowls of porridge, we were just right. Like the three sisters, we were sad inside. Like the three billy goats gruff, we feared the troll. Like the three little pigs, we longed for our own home. Like the three wishes, we were never enough.
I think what's interesting about that poem is it illustrates one of your techniques, which is taking something very familiar to kids and then responding to it with a little twist. Does that come about because you do a lot of work in schools performing for children?
Yeah, I think so. I know that children appreciate the familiar, but they very quickly get bored. So I think it's vital to have something that they can quickly key into, but then give them a twist and a surprise, because that's where the joy comes in, when they realise that it's not going the way they expect. So for example, I have a poem called Hamster Hamster, where I say to them, slithering like a and all the kids say snake, I say no, armadillo. And that always gets them laughing because they're expecting a snake.
I'm glad you mentioned the hamster poem, actually, because it's basically about this child who adores a hamster and catalogues its virtues until it bites him. And the second half of the poem is a catalogue of all the hamster's horrible qualities.
That particular poem was based on a true story. That actually happened to me. I tend to write from experience, and I find that by doing so you end up with pieces that show the complexity of life. I want to translate that honesty to young people because I think it's important that they get experience of that.
Roger McGough commented on your delight in language, and the book is full of wordplay. So, conquer, as in William the Conqueror, is about getting conquers. And there's one where you invent collectives as a wood of whooshes. There's another called onomatopoeia that is entirely onomatopoeic. Were some of these lines invented by your young audience? I mean, what's the process by which you write?
Imagining myself as a child being in primary school in Roehampton and remembering what made me laugh, what made me smile, what made me scared. And because I'm in schools a lot, I get to test things out on kids, which is brilliant. That's why I love working in schools. I get to test out the poems, test out ideas. So there's one called What Do Monkeys Do? That started out as a game. We were imagining hamsters that ham it up and spiders that spy, but we couldn't think of anything for monkeys. So that game became right for a poem.
Now, there's lots of school in your collection, lots of characters, teachers, bad, good and wonderful. And tell us a little bit about your poem, Miss Flotsam.
Well, Miss Flotsam has been in